you're there for a reason. Like, never feel like you're an imposter. Like, there's a thing called imposter syndrome, and I suffer from it. I think everyone does. But if you're in a room and you're being invited there, or you work there in that room, like, you're there for a reason. You are there because you've already proven a point, and you're there to add something.
Welcome to the Creators House podcast. My name is Potwala Alexander, founder of Creators House. If you're looking to build a career within the creative industry, then you've come to the right place. The aim of this podcast is to see you win. Let's get into it. What's happening, everyone? Welcome to today's episode. So on a podcast today, we've got Martin, aka Martin2Smoove, aka London's hottest DJ, which, by the way, isn't my opinion. That's from Rihanna herself. Girl like Riri. So growing up in an Asian household, his parents were keen for him to go to university and get quote unquote a normal job, but music was in his blood, and it wasn't long before he started hosting his own parties at university. From there, he found himself warming up for the iconic Trevor Nelson, and since then he's gone on to have a career any DJ would dream of. For the past 10 years, Martin has traveled the world, entertaining coolest crowds and the hottest events for the biggest brands on the planet, becoming one of the most in-demand DJs around. He is a Grammy Award winner, Eve's tour DJ, and Romesh Ranganelson's right-hand man. On the corporate side, Martin plays for brands like Nike, Gumball 3000, GQ Man of the Year Awards, to just name a few. There's many more. He's played for people like, so hear this, Barack Obama, Drake, Bruno Mars, Johnny Ivy, U2, James Corbin, Kate Moss, Prince Harry, Lewis Hamilton, etc., etc., etc. There's more. Martin.
Yes.
Appreciate you being here, bro.
Oh, Jesus.
That made you feel awkward, didn't it?
Very, very awkward. Very awkward. But it's good to be here, man.
Yeah,
good
it is, man. I've been looking forward to this chat. And obviously, as we've kind of just read out, your career is sick. Like, you're genuinely feel like you're one of the, I mean, if Rihanna's saying you're one of the hottest DJs, like it's fact, right? Genuinely one of the biggest DJs in the country, or if not even around the world. And I feel like you've got like the benchmark of a career for DJs, especially young DJs kind of coming into the game. So we're going to touch on all of those experiences. But I truly believe like our early days tend to shape who we are. So what was your upbringing like?
It was just a pretty decent middle class upbringing. I've got both Indian parents, so they're very much about education, going to school, working hard, getting those grades, getting a degree and getting a good job. And like my brother is an accountant for like a big bank, and my dad is a doctor, and my mum's a little bit more creative, so maybe that's where
it comes from.
Yeah. So maybe that it came from that. But yeah, it's just a normal upbringing, man. I went to an all boys Catholic school in the outskirts of London / Essex, and just like a normal British upbringing, I would say. Nothing. And like
from a music point of view, is that like, when did you remember first really getting into it? Has that always been?
I've always loved music. Michael Jackson was like someone I idolized as a kid, and as I started to get older, my music, like a lot of people that are raised in African and Caribbean communities are surrounded by great music, and their parents put on great music. It wasn't the case in my house. There wasn't music getting played around the house. But the moment we got like Sky back in the days, you had all the MTV
like
channels.
MTV, yeah.
So I was exposed to a different world, and like just black music hit me, man. Like I just loved hip hop. I loved R&B. I loved all of that, soul, funk, everything like that. So ever since then, I just thought, you know what? I want to get into music. I want to buy music. I want to learn more about music. I want to listen to music. I just want to be around music.
So you mentioned Michael Jackson, but like apart from that, is there any key, I guess, artists that like really got you into the game?
I love Prince. I love James Brown. Who else? I didn't really like Will Smith when I was a kid.
Will Smith's a G.
Yeah, exactly. I liked all of that. I used to be a big fan of the Fresh Prince, and I loved his music back in the day. There's that one album he dropped, Big Willie Style, which is like most hip hop heads won't give it the credit it's due, but I like that album. And yeah, I loved loads of the music that was around in the early noughties and late 90s. So yeah.
So then, when exactly did you start DJing? Because I know you went to university, and it'd be good for you to kind of talk through that experience because that's interesting. But like, did you start DJing before uni or after?
I started collecting music before uni, and I started. I remember the summer before university, I worked in like a clothes shop every day just to try and buy some turntables. Did that. And I remember getting the turntables like towards the end of the summer, just before I was going to uni, and I was practicing. I remember falling asleep with the headphones on and the music going around on the deck. So that's how much I was looking forward to doing it. And then when I got to university, I thought, you know what, it's time to step it up, throw my own parties. I want to be known as that guy in university campus, as the DJ, the guy that you associate with parties and good times with.
So what was the DJ scene like when you first got into it?
It was all about radio DJs then, like One Extra DJs, Radio 1 DJs. At that time, it was people like Trevor Nelson was at the top.
Yeah.
Tim Westwood was at the top.
Yeah.
All of those guys were at the top at that time. So this is before social media. So you couldn't create your own platform. Nowadays, I don't think radio DJs are as powerful as they used to be, because you look at people like Kenny Allstar. He's a radio DJ, but his power has come from his platform, and so it's a bit different now.
Yeah. Okay. So you go to uni. So what exactly? So if you look at DJing specifically, so I know you like music and you got inspired through MTV and all of those artists. But obviously, music industry is huge, right? What exactly made you want to start DJing? Was it a specific moment, or?
Yeah, you know what? I used to watch MTV, and ironically, I ended up started working for with the guy afterwards. But seeing Trevor Nelson, the way he conducted himself, and like he'd have footage of his parties, and seeing like how he'd make people happy playing great music, I just thought, you know what? I want to do something like that. I want to be like that. I want to create great moments with great music.
Nice. And then you've got a story that I think is quite familiar with a lot of people that come from ethnic backgrounds, right? In a sense where, because I got the same. You went to uni because your parents told you to go to uni, basically, right?
To this day, my parents still have no idea, like, because they're like first generation Indians.
Yeah.
They have never been to a club in their life, man. And so they're in this country. They moved to this country. They struggled, obviously, and moving somewhere culturally completely different. And so they don't want their kids to struggle in any way. So to stop that from happening is to get your kid a good education and get him a professional career. And that's what they wanted from me. So I think my parents weren't as traditional as like most Indians, but they did want me to go to university. And once I went to university and got my degree, they kind of said, look, you can do what you want as long as you're not doing anything illegal or anything where you need help from others or from them, really.
But that's I think this is a really interesting topic though, because I actually had someone, a young gentleman, reach out to me recently, because obviously through Creates House, like we're connected with young people, young creatives all the time. And he's got a very similar story to you, right? His parents wanted him to go to uni. He went to uni, came out, got a grad job, but isn't happy.
Yeah.
Right? He's a creative at heart. So like, I know times are different, but it's still a very similar narrative. Like, what would your, I guess, advice be for young people that are maybe in that scenario?
I would say if you have to go to university, it's like I've never used my degree. I got an economics degree. I've never written it down.
Yeah.
Never even mentioned it on a CV. My CV is irrelevant when it comes to that. It's all about my experience and that.
Yeah.
My advice to someone is go to university and do something and study something that you want to pursue afterwards, maybe. So if it's music or if you want to be a DJ, learn how to go into production courses or something like that, do that. And that way you don't feel like it's a waste and then you enjoy it. When you do something you love, it doesn't feel like work. Like now, I never struggle to work, get up and go to work. I love it. I love everything I do because the variety of what I do is so much fun. But at university, I used to miss lectures all the time.
Yeah.
I hardly ever went. I don't think the lecturers even knew I existed.
Yeah. I think the challenge is though, like, you were lucky in a sense where you found your love quite early on, right? We're looking at 18, 19. Like that's to find that and for you to still be doing it now. That's I guess relatively rare. Like a lot of young people go to uni at 18 and have no idea what they want to be, so they kind of just pick something. Because that's what I did. Yeah, I had no idea what I wanted to do.
What did you study?
I studied sports science.
Okay.
But that's because I like sports.
Yeah.
Or I did.
You're a basketballer, right?
Yeah. So I was playing ball at the time. I thought, all right, I love sports. Let me just go study something sports related and figure it out. Right. Left there, then started working in Nike Town as a sales assistant. But again, because it was sports related, I thought it all fits and made sense. But you figure it out over time.
Yeah, and I think your path wasn't too deviated. You kind of stuck within what you loved. Like you like sports. Yeah.
Sports was the consistent piece there. Yeah, for sure. All right, so you go to uni, then you want to become the DJ guy. Talk to me about that experience.
Uni was a blast because I went to an all-boys school and then going to university. And I went to university up north in a place called Kiel. And it's like a American, like you go to watch these American movies and they're all on campus. It was like that. Everyone knows everyone. And I thought, this is my time to just throw some amazing parties. And there wasn't any hip hop parties back then in the uni. So we started it up, me and my friends did. And it was just great. Even though I didn't enjoy the degree that I studied, I really enjoyed my time at university and I look back at it with fond memories. Had I had the option of not going to university now, if it was in this day and age, I probably wouldn't go in the sense that I could probably gain more experience and meet people by doing work experience or working for free for someone and then building up experience and relationships. But at the time, it was great. Yeah,
and I guess for you, the uni conversation is a super interesting one. I think a lot of people have views on that. I've got my point of view on it as well. But I guess from your in terms of your story, like it shaped you. Do you know what I mean? Like sure. Even if you didn't go to uni, that you might have done parties, but like you weren't in that closed community kind of thing. And
you develop so much life skills in university and living away from home and dealing with deadlines and dealing with how to deal with people from different backgrounds. It's something that you learn that is outside of the academic field.
Yeah.
Like, let me ask you this. You went to university. Was it because of pressure from your parents?
Yes and no. Not pressure in a sense where they were like, you need to go to uni. But as you know, my dad's West African, right? Yeah. My mum's English. But even so, like more so on my dad's side, it's like that was just always what you do.
Yeah.
It wasn't a case of, there was a conversation of you need to go and do this. It was just like, you go to, A levels and you finish, what unis have you applied for? So it was more that I just thought that was the only option. I didn't know anything else.
So how would you, now that you got a son of your own, when he gets 18,
so this is interesting. So me and my missus slightly we both see each other's point of view, but slightly disagree on this, right? So my stance on uni is I personally, unless it's a specific course, i.e. maybe you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, right? Where you specifically have to go through a certain journey to get there. I personally don't feel like it's worth it. Especially when you look at how much it cost.
I agree.
Right? That's my thing. If it was cheaper, I'd be like, absolutely. As an experience, like 3 years experience as a young, person growing up, absolutely amazing experience to have. But for the cost, how much is that? Like 12K a year or something like that?
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it?
And
then you have that debt over you.
Yeah, so I think for the cost, for me, I don't think it's worth it. I think I agree with you. Like, so what I say, to answer your question, what I'd say to my son is, all right, if you're not going to go to uni, it still needs to be a structured 3 years.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you know what I mean? Like, give yourself 3 years. What are you going to achieve? Like, what are your goals? How are you going to get there? And all right, let's go and achieve those. That's going to hopefully help you in the future, right? So it still needs to be structured. I think that's important, having that structure, going out, meeting people, those life skills, living on your own for the first time. All of that, I think, definitely builds you as a person. But in terms of the certificate itself, like you can get experience. You can work for people free. You can develop that on your own, especially if you're creative. It's, yes, it's about your talent, but then it's also about, you as an individual.
And so nowadays you can just say you spent 3 years creating your own platform and creating content for
free. Imagine that. Imagine you want to be a YouTuber. And you spend 3 years building content to be a YouTuber.
Honing your craft. Yeah.
Like, you'll be all right, man.
For sure.
We'll get back into the conversation shortly. But before we do, I just want to take a few seconds to just give you a little bit more information about Creators House. So Creators House is a not-for-profit youth empowerment organization where we aim to empower and support young creatives. We do it through a few different ways. Firstly, we have this amazing creative studio where you can do things like photography, podcasting, graphic design, music production, and much, much more. And it's totally free for 18 to 25-year-olds. It's a top level studio. Literally all you need to do is go on our website and book your slot. But then secondly, we also know how important education is. So we want to make sure that we're educating young creatives. This podcast is part of that, but then we also run in-person workshops where we bring in industry professionals to run them. But then we also have more smaller individual-based mentoring as well. And then thirdly, which we're most proud about, is we also offer free therapy to 18 to 25-year-olds because we know how important mental health is. So if you want to know more, just check us out on our website. All the details will be below. But for now, let's get back into the conversation. All right, let's talk about so university. You start running your events there. That kind of gives you the bug to continue. So I know you don't necessarily say there's any specific one big break, but you open up for Trevor Nelson. So was that during uni or was that after?
Yeah, that was it at uni.
During.
Yeah, so he came to our university, which I thought, yes, because I used to look up to this guy on TV. And then I warmed up. I said, look, let me warm up for him.
So how did that conversation go? Like, talk to me about that experience.
To be honest, there was no one else better qualified for it. Okay. So it was a no-brainer for them at uni because there wasn't really any other hip hop or R&B DJs. There was one other person, but I don't think he was even there that weekend. But so I went up to the guy who's the head of events. I said, look, which ironically, we'll touch on this later, but it's about relationships. It's a guy called Luke, and that 20 years later, I saw him last year at Formula One at Silverstone when I was DJing there. Yeah,
that's mad.
Yeah, but so I went up to him. I go, look, let me warm up for Trevor, and he goes, well, Trevor's bringing his own warm up, but you can warm up for the warm up.
Okay.
And then DJ'd that, and then warmed up for Hanif, who is now like one of my really, really good friends and one of the biggest promoters, if not the biggest promoter in the city. So we kept in touch. He saw that I had a bit of a
Did you speak to Trevor Nelson that day?
Yeah, I interviewed him for my radio show.
Okay.
I think I've got it still somewhere.
And, what was that radio show? What was that?
I did a radio show at university radio show. It was like a hip hop show on a Friday night, me and a couple of friends. We took it really seriously.
Yeah.
Like, even though there's probably only like 4 people listening.
Yeah.
But we took it seriously. Like we pretended like we were on One Extra or Radio 1 at the time.
But you know what? I'm going to come back to your story, but I want to touch on that point because I think that's so important. I remember that the other day I was watching a podcast. I can't remember the name of the guy, but the story was he's like the dating guy. He's on celebrity dating show. I can't remember the name of it, but black guy. He was basically talking about when he got found by Oprah. Okay. Right, and his point was he was basically creating content on YouTube and literally had like 11 people watching his content, right? But he was consistently putting out, but he was only getting like 10 views, 11 views, 10 views. One of those 10 views was Oprah.
You just never know.
You just never know who's watching. So I think your point is so important around. Yes, we're so, I guess, fixed on views these days that we sometimes forget that it's about the quality of the content you're putting out, and sometimes all you need is that one view.
Exactly, and you can be. Have you ever seen that meme picture where 2 people digging for diamonds? All right, there's 2 people, and one person is so close to hitting all of the diamonds, but then he quits. Like, you just never know when that next break is going to happen. You never know who's watching. Just, there's a saying, dance like no one's watching you. Just carry on like you're not being watched and you're just doing something that you love, just keep going. You just never know when that break is.
So you're interviewing Trevor Nelson for your radio show. So like, did you build a relationship? Or
we did. I mean, he didn't remember me by name, but I did a couple more warm-ups with him, and he kind of knew who it was. And then by the time I came out of university, Hanif, who was Trevor's right-hand man, asked me to come and work on a student night in London called Milkshake, which is 17 years ago, and I'm still working there. And then I got to know Trevor a lot more, and it was good.
So like we're gonna touch on your, I guess, experiences. So obviously from then that kind of set you up, right? And then you've been obviously DJing ever since. We're gonna talk a little bit about the experience you've had because you've had a crazy life, man.
It's a good life.
You've had a crazy life. But the first thing I want to touch on is something that because you came into, as you say, your family weren't into music. Your family weren't in the music industry.
I got no
you didn't know any DJs before you kind of got into it. So you built all of this on your own. And you mentioned it earlier, like one of the most key pieces to that is around network, right? And before you kind of talk about your point of view on that, I want to just give my perspective on you, right? So we met what, about 10 years ago?
10 years ago at Nike.
Like 10 years ago, right?
I think my first day, I had to report to you in Victoria.
Maybe.
Yeah. It's for the Fuel Band launch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I remember that. So we met 10 years ago. You were DJing at Nike, and I was working there at the time. And obviously during that time, we kept in contact. We spoke quite a lot. But then I moved over to Amsterdam, and then I don't think are you still DJing there now? Or?
No, I've let you obviously. I'm
Yeah.
wearing Adidas, but I work for Adidas now.
Okay, so
but,
you're DJing. Okay.
My impression of you're always so busy. Like even to get like 20 seconds from this guy, it was like you were busy.
It's switched now. Isn't it?
No, not even. I've always got time for you, bro. And I think you would have if I was serious and like.
Nah, but
you would have had time for me.
100%.
Yeah.
And that would be the same for everyone. But I think the point around you is, yes, you're a sick DJ, 100%. You have the talent. You're a sick DJ. No one can deny that. But what I remembered about you wasn't what you were doing on the decks, was you as a person. And I think the point I'm making here is within the creative industry where network is so important, and there is a lot of people that don't do the best things. Like you're one of the nicest guys I know. And like, because of that, you've built up such a sick network, which we'll talk about. But like, how intentional is that for you to network with people? Or is it just a case of just being a good guy, and the network comes? Like, what's your point of view on that?
Do you know what? Nothing I do, or everything I do is genuine. It's like relationships are built organically. I'm not looking at someone and thinking, oh, he's the manager. Maybe I'll be extra nice to him. I'll treat the manager the same way as the person that's cleaning this shop.
And that's what stood out in Nike Town. That's what stood out. Yeah, 100%, man. Like the same way you speak to, for me, I don't believe in hierarchy anyway. Yeah. But the same way you speak to someone walking on the shop floor is the same way you speak to like the director or other people from head office that used to come in. You generally spoke to everyone exactly the same way.
Yeah, and I'd be cheeky to like the shop floor staff, and the same with the management, but in a fun way. Yeah.
But also though, like in regards to that, I think sometimes, actually a lot of the time, when young people are building their career, whether it's through freelance or working for companies, when they're speaking to like directors or people that are like up there, they do change, right? And like the people you're talking to know, they can sense that. Like they can sense it's not genuine. And when you come to them just genuinely your 100% self, that's when you're actually able to have a more authentic connection with them.
For sure. And you're there for a reason. Like, never feel like you're an imposter. Like, there's a thing called imposter syndrome, and I suffer from it. I think everyone does. But if you're in a room and you're being invited there, or you work there in that room, like, you're there for a reason. You are there because you've already proven a point, and you're there to add something. So never feel like you shouldn't be in that place. Like, be yourself and just do your best.
But then on that though, on networking, because I spoke to quite a few people about this. I think actually Asma's behind the camera. I think I spoke to Asma about this as well.
Yeah, shout out to Asma.
Shout out to Asma behind the camera. Some people are good at it. It's a skill. Networking is a skill, right? Some people are really good at it. Some people, just might be a little bit more socially
introverted.
Introverted than others. So like, what advice do you have for people that might be a little bit more introverted?
Do you know what? In the creative industry, there are a lot of people that are introverted because they didn't sign up to be like, if you're an artist, I didn't sign up to network. I signed up to create art.
Yeah.
I didn't sign up to, if you're a musician, I came to create great music. I didn't came here to do press and interviews. Do you know what I mean? I guess it's just practice and trying to put yourself out of the comfort zone. You gain a lot of growth when you're outside of that comfort zone.
Yeah, and I think it is a skill.
Yeah.
And I personally went through it. So if I speak to someone now, like in a social situation, no one would ever really feel like I'm introverted. But I am.
You were always good, man, I think.
Yeah. But that's the point. So even then, this is what, 10 years ago, right? Yeah. I don't know if you would have thought I was an introvert.
Nah, you were wicked.
I'm an introvert. Like,
you came across as like a leader in terms of our team, and like, I genuinely did think that. I would never have thought you were introverted.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So maybe they should be getting advice to you on that one.
Maybe. But I think the point for me, or what I did anyway, is it's just it's same with anything. The more you do it, the more comfortable you feel. For sure. And it's like, yes, those first early few times, it's difficult to like put yourself out there, but the more you do it, the better you become. So I want to talk about your career and your experiences, because you know, you can watch your show reel and just see all the cool stuff you've done. So I don't even know if we're gonna have time to cover
But the
everything.
show reel, just like Instagram, let me just, it's the highlights. You don't see me when I was giving out flyers or signing people up for mailing lists and stuff. They're the highlights. So just like Instagram, you see everyone's highlights. And
so let's do that then. Let's start with, we're going to come to the highlights and talk about that. But before we get to that, let's talk about all the hustle that goes on before those kind of flashy moments. Like, talk to me about those experiences.
So I came out of uni and I thought, Hanif's asked me to work at Ministry. I'm going to walk in there and I'm going to be a resident at that club and DJ there. I didn't get to DJ at that student night for the first 2 years I worked there. Okay. And so I was flyering, I was promoting it. I'd work 4 or 5 days a week doing that. And then the second year I worked there, they gave me more opportunity to DJ. But I guess you need to go through that process. And I learned a lot through that. Like when I was promoting it, obviously you don't do so much flyering now, it's all done online, but I learned a lot about the audience. I learned about the universities that we're trying to promote to. So it's all a process, and great things happen after that once you put the work in.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also something that stood out to me, you mentioned Westwood earlier. I remember it was quite a few years ago now, but I saw him out flyering in central London. And this was like he was
do it outside night time,
yeah. But this was like he was already big time.
Yeah.
Like everyone knew he was already a big name, and he was still out flying. And I saw that, I was like, wow, like that hit me. Because normally, like you reach the big time, then you feel like, oh, you're too good for that.
A lot of DJs would for sure.
That hustle never stops.
A lot of DJs would never do that, and a lot of smaller DJs would never do that. And if someone like Westwood can do it, then, and I think Westwood used to do it for like market research and chat to people, and like I know he's in a lot of hot bother at the moment, but I think he liked that interaction with people. Yeah,
for sure. So then let's talk about your experiences. One of the cool things you obviously do loads, but you're the tour DJ for Eve.
Yeah.
How did that come about? How did that even happen?
So you know, I'm a big fan of, if you have an idea of something that you want to do, put it out there. They call it, manifestation?
Yeah.
Or manifesting things. And like a few weeks, like in 2011 maybe, or something like that, around the time when we first met, I put a tweet out saying I'd love to be a tour DJ for an artist. And then I got a call from a guy called Benny Scars, who's now Dave's manager. He was looking after an artist called Cleo Soul.
Yeah.
And Cleo is huge now. She sold out the Coco in like seconds recently, and her album is brilliant. But yeah, at the time she was just starting out, and she did a tour. I did a tour with her. Was DJing for her for like 2-3 years.
So this was just through you putting out a tweet?
Nah, it wasn't just for that. I think Ben knew, and then I think I knew Ben from years ago, but...
Oh, you mean the tweet was like the manifestation of that happening?
Like,
okay, I get it.
I think like it might remind people that he'd be a good tour DJ. And then so Cleo stopped making music for a while, and had a bit of a sabbatical. And then Eve moved to London, and she put out the news that she needed a tour DJ. I didn't know it was Eve. So someone I worked with, I also worked, when I came out of university, I worked for Atlantic Records, like a legendary record label. I was an intern there. And my boss at the time was a guy called Matchstick, and he was looking after Eve and said, look, Martin, I know you DJ for Cleo. I got a US artist that needs a tour DJ this weekend. So it was only a short-term thing. And I go, cool. She goes, can you meet me here? And I'm not going to tell you who it is. Met him there, and it was Eve. I was
so like, Eve was there?
Yeah, Eve was there.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, it was.
Why didn't he tell you?
Because I think he wanted me to say yes or no. If I'd have known it was Eve, I would have said yes straight away. But if I didn't know,
got it.
He did.
Like he needed to know the commitment.
Yeah, cool. Exactly. So did 2 dates of Eve. One went all right, and the second date was a big press show, and I messed up the track order. And it was like a rookie mistake.
Was it like an obvious mess up?
No one in the crowd would have known, but Eve would have known.
Okay.
But she's so classy. She just carried on, and then like afterwards, I just said sorry. And then I thought, you know what, that was the last time I ever going to DJ for her. Yeah. And but then she called me up again next month for a gig in, I think it was like Lebanon or something. And then the rest is history, because it all went well after that. And yeah, shout out to Eve. She's just a class act.
That's amazing, man. So I guess doing
one thing will always lead you. Like if you do one thing well, it can
Yeah.
lead you up. I've never had one thing where I jumped like massive amounts of steps. It's doing a little one thing well, then it went up to another step, then another
Yeah.
step, then. So
Then I
forth.
think the message there is like, back to your point, is just back to the radio show you were doing at university.
Yeah.
You did it to the best possible standard that you could.
Even though I made a mistake, like one of them,
Yeah.
but like I did try my best. You know what I mean? Like there was
Yeah.
nothing left out there.
That's mad. So you mentioned, you know, her giving you a call to DJ with her in Lebanon.
That was crazy. Like I thought, because it was 3 weeks, about a month before the last gig, where I messed up. I thought, and I told my wife, my girlfriend at the time, I said, I would have been so good to be a DJ, man. I can't believe I messed it up. And in my heart, I thought I'd never get another call. And then she called up and then did the gig, and it was like Little Kim was on the lineup.
No way.
Yeah, and I was in Lebanon. I was like in these great
What?
hotels, and I remember getting a picture of Eve and Little Kim, and I thought, God, this is life. But yeah, you just never know, like what can happen.
So then, since then, what would you've done a lot of cool stuff, but what would you say is like, I guess, one of your most memorable moments as a DJ?
I did a party for U2, which is the legendary rock band, and like for 3 hours of that party, I couldn't get anyone on the dance floor. And then we were about to close. It was at someone's house, and he goes, "Oh, let's wrap it up." And then one girl asked for a request, and I'm always down for requests. Like some DJs don't like requests, but requests for me always give me a good indication what people want in the crowd. So I played the request, and then everyone came on the dance floor, and then they had to keep the party going for another 3 hours because the dance floor was packed. And then at one point, I remember playing a song, U2, Beautiful Day, and I remember looking over at Bono, and I chucked it the mic, and then he sang the song.
No way.
So
No way.
yeah, man. That was a definite highlight.
That's amazing, man. You've also spoke about, I think it might have been early in your career where you got invited to an exclusive party. You didn't know what the party was.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, talk to us about that.
So it's a PR guy. It's actually like 9 years to the day. He's
To today?
To the day.
Really?
Yeah.
No way,
His
that's mad.
birthday yesterday, I think. But
mad.
he had his birthday party, and I was working at Night Town. I didn't know what any big like A-list parties were like anyway, or how they operate. And Ministry of Sound, who I work for and still do, they said, look, we put you forward to this party, and they've decided to go with you. It's someone's birthday party, but you need to sign this NDA. I didn't know what an NDA is, and then I realized it's a non-disclosure agreement. And I thought, there's going to be a bunch of like Big Brother or like Love Island celebs there, no one that I really care for. And then I thought, I did a shift at Nike during the day, didn't even prepare. And I told my friend, Sab, shout out to Sab, I go, can you drive us up there? And we'll just see what it's like. It might be rubbish. Went there. We got put into the dressing room, and they go, you're on after the next act. And then he goes, who's the next act? It's Bono, Bob Geldof, Jimmy Carr, Davina McCall. And we went out there. We went into the crowd, go, can we watch it? And he goes, yeah, of course. We went out there, and I remember looking at this and just seeing all of like the A-list from the UK. And I remember looking around at my friend Sab, just a guy from Wembley. We're just two brown kids from London, and he was just chatting to Tony Blair and
No way.
like casually.
So who else was at the party?
Loads of people. I don't want to go into the name dropping, man. But yeah, like anyone who is a British celebrity or A-lister was there pretty much.
Yeah, and how was the party? Smashed it?
Yeah, and I think they're still using me to this day, and I just have respect for all of the people that go there. You're never going to see me like Instagram it or take selfies with like artists. I'm gonna let them enjoy it, and that's probably one of the reasons why they use me, because I'm
but then also I think that's important. Like you spoke about just letting your art do the talking.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas especially nowadays in an Instagram age or content age, where everyone wants content, like you go to this kind of place, you're trying to build this narrative of, you know, who you are, what you do. So it's like that's kind of the first thing people go to. It's like taking out the phones and all of that. So it's a very different approach to now. Yeah,
and I gain nothing by just exposing someone being at the party, and like I want them to enjoy it and feel safe. Without the fact that someone going to Instagram like the Prime Minister on a dance floor or like whatever, want a royalty or a royal member of the family on a dance floor. Like it makes no sense for me to ever do anything like that. So, and I want people to enjoy themselves, man.
I mean, it's, at the end of the day, that's like going back to your purpose almost.
Yeah,
The reason why you become a DJ is so that people can have a good time.
Yeah, for
Do you
sure,
know what I mean?
for sure.
Nice. And then you've traveled quite a bit.
Yeah, I've. There's only one place I haven't been to DJ in South America. I got asked to DJ for the Brazil Olympics, but I couldn't do it because I was touring with Eve in the States at the time. Otherwise, I would have done every continent.
So you DJ in every single continent?
Yeah, apart from Antarctica and.
Oh yeah. Do you know how many countries?
God knows. It's probably. They say it's 180 countries, isn't there? Or something. I reckon it's.
No, there's more than that, surely.
Is it 180? I don't know.
I don't know.
We should do a Google on that.
Yeah, we probably should Google.
I reckon it might be about 100 countries of DJ.
100?
Yeah, maybe about that.
That is
80
mad.
to 100, yeah.
How many in Africa have you done?
I've done South Africa. I've done Egypt. I've done Morocco. I haven't done any like. Oh, and I've done Tanzania. Tanzania, but I haven't done West Africa, which is I'd love to do something like Ghana and Nigeria.
You need to come to Gambia, man.
Yeah, the Gambia. Is that your heritage?
So my dad's from Senegal.
Okay,
but I grew up in Gambia.
The Gambia, there's someone, a ministry who used to be the guy that looked after the desk at night. There's a guy called Cher, and he's from the Gambia.
Yeah, my brother's called Cher.
Really?
Yeah.
And he is a legend. He's such a nice guy, and I just think something about that Western African community, like the Gambia, the Ghanaian people, they've got like a real family focus. They're good.
You need to, mate. If you're ever doing Gambia, holler me.
Really?
I'll set out for you.
Yeah,
man. My people are still there.
Really?
But first of all, that's like amazing that you're able to like travel and like see so many different places through your work, which I think is amazing. But one thing I want to touch on that you said is you had an opportunity to DJ in Brazil, but you brought someone else on to do that gig, right? Which that has now led to you actually having a full-on business. Yeah. Talk to me about the importance of that.
Look at that link. That was flawless.
You like
Jonathan
that,
Ross, Graham Norton, watch out.
Coming for you, mate. Coming for you. But talk to us a little bit about the importance of that.
Okay.
And then like talk to us about your business.
Like doing your job well and doing it well over a period of time and consistently, you'll get people hitting you back for repeat business. And then as that builds up, you're going to get double booked. So if they trust you well enough, you say, look, I got a friend, I know DJing, and I know what you like. So why don't I recommend someone and you will like them because I know what you like. And so for example, Andy Pennell, who is an amazing DJ I grew up with, I'm a little bit older than him, but he worked with me at Milkshake, and he's now like Central C's DJ. So he's touring the world with Central C, but he is he took my gig in Brazil and smashed it, and then we just fought up with the idea, like we get asked for so many gigs that we can't do. Why don't we set up a business? So me, Andy, and a guy called Luke have got a business called Hear This, where we look after DJs in loads of brands, venues, hotels, restaurants, bars, and it's good because, like, I think it's an African saying, like, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. But if you want to go far, go with a team. And there's nothing better than giving opportunity to other people. And like, I never got an agent giving me gigs when I was younger, but it's nice that I can help at least give people gigs when they need it, especially after the pandemic. It was really good.
Is there other businesses like that?
Yes, there are other DJ businesses like that. There are a few, but we feel like we're not competing with anyone at the moment because we kind of have our own lane. But
nice. I love that, and I've personally experienced that over the last few months with you.
Oh yeah.
Right, where so at Creators House, obviously we run workshops to kind of educate young people, and I had this idea. I wanted to do a DJ workshop. Because I just thought, obviously, you know, I don't DJ, but I know there's a lot of young people that want to get into it, and just, you know, it's hard. A lot of DJs, as you probably can relate, you just start it on your own, you just figure it out on YouTube or whatever it is, right?
If you can help.
Whereas, which obviously helps, but there's a better way. So I wanted to create a workshop where we could basically teach young people how to DJ. And I was sitting in an office and I was like, I really want to do this, man. It's because, you know what? I'm going to give Martin a call. We haven't spoke for a while.
Yeah, I don't want to pick up the call for you, bro.
We hadn't spoke for a while, but I just called him. and then told you about the idea, you say, yeah, 100% you're down. But then obviously, you have a crazy schedule and it was hard for you to commit because we did six sessions, consecutive sessions. But then you put me in contact with Hayley, who's an absolute legend, and came and delivered a workshop, and that's the best workshop we've done.
Really?
It was sick.
She's brilliant. And
it was sick.
She's someone like you can send anywhere, and she looks the part, acts the part, and most of all, she's a nice person.
And that's the thing. And to your point, right? I had no doubt because obviously you recommended her, but then literally, she is her own individual. She's sick, as her own individual. Yeah. But what I would love and respect about you, she has as well. Like she just really committed to it. And she's just a really nice person, right? She's just really good people.
She get more
and she's just super talented at what she does. So it's like, it's great to be able to bring people in and just grow together as a community. So I think that's amazing to have that. But one thing I'm actually really interested about with yourself is, and I'm kind of figuring this out at the moment, not to an extent of you, but I'm married, got a little boy. I'm trying to balance, right? Married life and work. My work is busy, yes, but you're literally traveling all the time and you're married. Like, how do you balance married life? Like, how did you do that? It
is hard. Like, I have a very understanding wife. Like, shout out to April. But she's also got her own purpose. Like, she has her own salon, so she's not dependent on me in any way. She's just super busy in her own right, in her own career. So that kind of helps her own focus. But whenever I can take her traveling with me, I do. Okay. For example, I'm going to the Gumball 3000 rally next week on Wednesday, and we're traveling around the Arabian Peninsula for 10 days. So I know I'm going to be away for 10 days. So I have Monday off, and I had a look at Andy, who's touring with Central Seas schedule, and they're in Paris. And I thought, April, why don't we just go to Paris? You got a day off on Monday. Let's go and watch. Just doing things like that, and like helping each other out and making the effort and time for each other. I still have a lot to learn with that, so I can't really give advice too much.
But I think it's that's what I'm trying to figure out as well. It's just finding those times and days where you can just kind of commit. Yeah. I might be wrong here, but I swear you said to me that you don't work on Mondays.
Yeah, right? I try not to. Try not to, unless it's something major. And like April's the same. We at least make a day for each other a week, and a couple of evenings if we can. But sometimes it doesn't work out like that. Like I could be away for 2 weeks, or she could be slammed on a
but I think it's good to be intentional about that, though, especially if you're a freelancer, right? Because if you work at a company, you have your have your hours, your 9 to 5, right? You're off on the weekends, you're off on in the evenings. Whereas if you're a freelancer, entrepreneur, business person, then that's not the case. But being intentional about having that moment. Ours, again, we don't always achieve it, but we try to have date nights on Fridays.
Right? You got one today?
It doesn't always work out, but today, so we'll be done here. I'll be back home in the evening. And that's nothing as well. My little boy goes to bed at 7. So I try to be home at 7 every day to be able to put him to bed. So it's like being intentional about that. Our date night Fridays, we've been slacking. We need to get back on it. If I'm honest, we've been slacking, but it's important, whether it's with the missus or whether it's even just time for yourself, right? Even if it's just you, going, somewhere and having you time, once a week or whatever it is, like all of those things are important, right? But one thing I do want to talk about is I want to talk about money, which I think is generally people are uncomfortable talking about it, but I think it's such an important topic to talk about, especially as, again, a freelancer. How did you navigate, first of all, knowing what to charge clients for your work, and then how do you go about negotiating fees?
I think I have that down to a T, actually.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Everyone asks me, what's your set fee? I don't have a set fee. I will always ask the client, what's your budget? And then we'll figure it out. And then I'll always try and make the end goal everyone happy with that solution. So no one feels like they're getting overcharged. No one feels like they're getting undercharged. Everyone is happy. There is a figure where you can figure it out. And as long as you have that intention from the offset, go, look, what is your budget? Let's figure out something that everyone's happy with. And we can work it out. Never undercharge yourself, never overcharge yourself. Just try and...
How do you know what is undercharging and overcharging? Do you know what I mean? Obviously, everyone's art is different, but what's it based on? How do you see it? Is it experience? Is it talent? What is it?
I think it depends on what people are willing to pay and buy for things. But I think It's a tough question. That I think sometimes you have to like. Sometimes I could get paid extortionately for something, but then the next day I'll do something for free because it's helping something or it's a long term thing. For me, money was never the ultimate goal. It's like relationships and like having good relationship. I'd rather have a strong phone book than an amazing bank balance any day. And that's crazy. A lot of people will agree, but my phone book, I've got Grammy Award winners, I've got Oscar winners, I've got, loads of people on my phone that I could call to.
That is a very interesting outlook. You'd rather have a stronger phone book than a stronger bank balance, which ultimately that stronger phone book is going to lead to a stronger bank balance anyway.
Maybe.
But that's really interesting way of looking at it. Okay, so then I want to touch on, I know we spoke about relationships, but I want to touch on something else that you just spoke about regarding relationships. And, we spoke about this when we had a chat before, but for you, relationships is always long-term.
Oh, 100%.
Right? Like, talk to me about that approach.
Like, I would always step into relationships for a long-term solution. I don't want to fall out with anyone. I don't want to make a quick buck and then them never using me again. I'd rather make 10 years of like mediocre money than 1 year of just really good money. I'd rather have the longevity than cutting people short.
Yeah, which is 100% a sick way of looking at it, man. Nice. All right, before we wrap up,
is that it?
That's it, man.
Geez.
But I guess just before we do wrap up though, like what are your last, I guess, tips and advice for, in your case, obviously, DJing, they can relate to you quite directly, but the work that you do is consistent across all of different arts out there. So like, what would you say is like your key advice or tips for young people coming up?
All right. Number one, the first thing you've got to have is love for what you do. Love, if you're an artist, love making art. If you're a musician, love making music. If you're a DJ, love DJing. Don't do it because of what you can get out of it, like money or girls or cars or houses. None of that material stuff matters. It is about enjoying what you do as an art. And then number two, I think there's so many jobs that you probably don't want to do, especially when you're starting out, but do it. Like 90% of it is turning up. And 10% is the rest of it. Like being there is so important. Number three, just think long term. Relationships are everything. Look after people. Be nice. Like think, if you can help someone, help someone. It's so important because people will always remember how you make them feel. And the last one was, let me think. I said never give up. Yeah, just never give up. You just never know when that break is. Times are hard. There's so many times, especially in the first 5 years or 10 years of when I was DJ, 5 years, I'd say. There's so many times I thought, you know what, maybe I should just go and work in a bank or something. But you just never know when that break comes. You just never know. Just keep going.
Nice. I love that, bro.
No, thank you, man. Appreciate you, bro.
Conversation. So that's it for today. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. Make sure you follow our socials so you don't miss any of the amazing content that we have coming up. All the details will be in the description below. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.